Hi guys, it's Grandma. Today we're having the story How the Tsar Drinks Tea. This is just gorgeous. This is an old library copy. You can tell where it's faded, but that's okay because the story's fine. How the Tsar Drinks Tea by Benjamin Elkin. Pictures by Anita Lobel. This is copyright 1971. More than anything else in the world, Petya the peasant wanted a brass samovar. That's the thing that makes tea. With a samovar he could have hot, fragrant tea any time at all. And a samovar of real brass would gleam and shine and be a joy to behold. But, of course, all Petya could do was dream about such an expensive treasure. He could never afford to buy one. Then one day, Petya was clearing a large stump from the field. While his horse, Vanka, pulled and tugged, Petya helped with shovel and axe. At last, with a loud crackling noise, the roots came out of the ground, and what should be entangled in the roots but a samovar, green with age and covered with dirt. Petya could hardly believe his eyes. He had studied many samovars in the marketplace, and by now he was an expert. So after a quick inspection, he knew that underneath all that dirt was a beautiful brass samovar. Petya couldn't wait to start cleaning and polishing it. Leaving the stump half in the ground and half out, he unhitched Vanka and hurried home. All that afternoon and all evening and far into the night, Petya scoured and cleaned and polished. He rubbed every inch with a wet cloth dipped in ashes. Lovingly, he cleared every design and decoration with the point of a sharp nail. When he was through, the samovar gleamed like gold. Then Petya packed the inner pipe with charcoal, poured fresh water around the pipe, and lit the fire. Too excited to sit still, he walked around and around, admiring the samovar from all angles. When at last a cloud of steam hissed cheerfully out of the tiny hole in the cover, Petya made up a little song. Steam away my samovar, Petya the peasant is like the Tsar. Meanwhile, a snoopy neighbor named Ivan had seen the light in Petya's window and wondered why Petya was up so late. He crept over to peer into the house. Heaven help us, what should he see but a samovar that gleamed like solid gold? Such a samovar could come from no place other than the royal palace of the Tsar himself. And since Petya was singing, Steam away my samovar, Petya the peasant is like the Tsar, Petya must have stolen it. We see Ivan in the window. Ivan wondered what to do. Of course, he could go to the police, but they would get all the credit. No, he would go to the Tsar himself and tell him Petya had stolen his gold samovar. Who knew? The Tsar might even appoint him to the royal guard. In his mind, Ivan could already see himself in the fine uniform of a sergeant. As soon as it was light, he rushed to the palace and asked to see the Tsar. Don't be a fool, the sergeant of the royal guard told him. Do you think His Imperial Majesty has time to see every peasant who comes to the palace? Tell me your business and be quick about it. So Ivan told the sergeant about the gold samovar in Petya's cottage. No one has reported a missing gold samovar, said the guard. Show me where this Petya lives. For your own sake, let us hope you are not lying. When they reached Petya's house, the sergeant peered through the window. Yes, indeed, that gleaming samovar must be pure gold, but what was the thief singing? Steam away my samovar, Petya the peasant is like the Tsar. Why, he was even boasting about his crime. The sergeant wondered what to do. If he delivered the thief and the gold samovar to his captain would take all the credit. No, he would return the samovar to the Tsar. The Tsar might make him a captain, too. The sergeant could hardly wait to put on the decorated sword of a captain in the royal guard. So he ordered Ivan to come along as a witness. Poor Petya didn't know what was happening. Before he realized it, he and his samovar were being hustled into the palace courtyard. There the sergeant waited impatiently for the Tsar to come out. As luck would have it, who should come out instead but the captain of the royal guard. So the sergeant had to deliver Ivan and the prisoner Petya and the samovar over to the captain. Why should I turn this prize over to the general of the royal guard and let him get all the credit, thought the captain. If I return the samovar to the Tsar myself, who knows what reward his majesty might give. I may yet be promoted to general. The captain could hardly wait to put on the gold eagles of a general. So he ordered the sergeant to follow him with witness Ivan and prisoner Petya. They waited in the outer room of the palace until the Tsar and his royal attendants approached. Then the captain knelt and proudly presented the samovar. To Ivan and the sergeant and the captain, a brass samovar might look like gold. But of course, the Tsar knew better. He took one look and laughed and laughed and laughed. What makes you think the samovar of brass could come from our palace? He asked. The embarrassed captain got up and angrily turned to the sergeant. Yes, it was you who insisted on troubling His Highness with such a foolish matter. What made you think a samovar of plain brass could come from the royal palace? The sergeant looked around for someone else to blame, and of course he turned to Ivan. All right, peasant, he said, before you are jailed as a false witness, tell us why you reported that your neighbor stole this samovar from the royal palace. Ivan trembled with fear. But your majesty, but your worships, he said, I heard him boasting of his thievery. Make him tell you of the song he was singing. The bewildered Petya spoke up. Your worships, what harm did I do by singing? Steam away my samovar. Petya the peasant is like the Tsar. All in the room were shocked by such insolence. He had insulted the Tsar, and that meant immediate punishment. But His Highness must have been in a very good mood, for he only smiled. Tell us, he said gently, in what way is Petya the peasant like the Tsar? Why, your majesty, said Petya, all I meant was that I, a humble peasant, can now drink tea like the great Tsar himself. This amuses us, says the Tsar. You shall see how the Tsar drinks tea. Then you shall see whether or not Petya the peasant drinks tea like the Tsar. The Tsar and his staff moved on, and Petya followed humbly into a most tremendous hall. The floor shone with stones of many colors. The walls were hung with paintings and banners of silk. On the tables were dishes of gold and silver. At one end of the hall was a raised platform, and on this platform was a throne of gold set with diamonds. The Tsar paused before it, while servants placed a sparkling crown on his head and a golden robe over his shoulders. Then he settled back on his throne and motioned with one finger. Immediately, an officer of the court knelt before him. "Let tea be served," commanded the Tsar. The officer of the court signaled. Two trumpeters dressed in purple and gold stepped forward. When they raised their trumpets, the room was instantly hushed. Then the trumpet call filled the room, and each note hung in the air like a jewel. As the trumpet notes died away, the royal samovar was borne into the hall. And what a samovar it was! Over 3 feet tall, of solid gold, encrusted with jewels. The cover was in the form of an eagle with wings outstretched and a crown on its head. The spigot was a golden head of the lion. Then 3 attendants, each one carrying a velvet cushion, drew near. On the first cushion was a locked gold box. Inside the box were precious tea leaves, grown especially for His Imperial Highness. The key to the box was on the next cushion, and the Tsar's teacup was on the third. Petya looked on in wonder. And all this while, in the corner of the room, the court musicians had been waiting. Now the sweet sounds of their violin filled the hushed room. Above the music could be heard the tinkle of gold and silver dishes as the servants prepared to brew the fragrant tea. A servant measured just the right amount of tea leaves into a gold teapot. He handed the teapot to another servant, who turned the lion's head of the samovar and let steaming water pour over the leaves. Now the nobles and officers of servants listened to the delicate violins, for they knew that the music was perfectly timed. The end of the melody would indicate that the tea had been brewed to exactly the proper strength. There, the melody was over. A third attendant carefully poured brew from the teapot into the Tsar's cup and added boiling water from the samovar. He placed the cup on a jeweled tray which also held sugar and lemon. Then the head attendant inspected the tray with bowed head and presented it to the Tsar. Everyone waited anxiously as the Tsar lifted the gold cup and took a first sip. Then everyone relaxed and smiled. The Tsar liked the tea. All could hear him say, "Ah, good." The Tsar leaned back and beckoned. At once the captain pushed Petya forward to kneel before the throne. But to everyone's amazement, the Tsar summoned Petya up the steps of the throne itself. "You have seen how the Tsar drinks tea," said His Majesty with a haughty smile. "Tell us, do you think that Petya the peasant drinks tea like the Tsar?" "Yes, your Majesty," replied Petya. The Tsar could not hide his astonishment. "How so?" he asked. "Why, your Majesty," said Petya, "I too drink my tea and say, 'Ah, good.'" The Tsar laughed and laughed until tears rolled down his cheeks. At last he recovered himself. "How right you are. The Tsar has trumpeters and musicians and servants in gold and jewels. But in the end, like the peasant, he can only drink his tea and say, 'Ah, good.' Petya, keep your samovar and go in peace. Happy is the man who can enjoy his portion." Petya left the palace with his gleaming samovar. The friendly laughter of the crowd followed him through the hall and out into the courtyard. The story of Petya and the Tsar spread through the cities and villages of all Russia, and from that day on, every peasant was proud to say, "I drink tea like the Tsar himself, for we both say, 'Ah, good.'"